So hello everyone, this is Intro to DeFi and I'm with Filipe from ANKR. Hello Filipe,
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
thank you for coming here. So can you introduce yourself, Filipe?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Philip. I'm the chief of DeFi of ANKR, and I lead the liquid staking offering of ANKR. So ANKR, so it's a decentralized Web3 infrastructure provider.
Cool. So like how did you find about crypto? How did you get into ANKR? Can you talk about more about your background?
Yeah, sure. So I have a financial background. So I worked about 8 years as a wealth manager, most of the time in Switzerland. And yeah, I mean, I invested in crypto in 2017, like many people, went through the bear markets. And during that time, I just spent, time educating myself and kind of cost averaging. Then about 1.5 years ago, I started to deep dive into DeFi very intensively. And so then last year, yeah, so I got then an offer from ANKR to join and to do liquid staking. And so actually it's a funny story because at the time I discovered liquid staking, and I was basically tweeting ideas about how the liquid staking ecosystem could become and how important it is. And for me at the time, I was really making the parallel between the fixed income market and the liquid staking. And I thought, that can be actually a very interesting area to focus on, since it enables people to, receive some yield. Yeah, and then I started to get some traction on like it's like that. That's ANKR. So ANKR's a CEO, then approached me, and actually, it was 2 days after resigning from banking that I got that offer from ANKR to join. And yeah, at the time, I just wanted to focus on DeFi and learn as much as possible, and continue to educate myself. And yeah, and then when I got the offer, I thought, well, it's actually great because I can learn with other people that are actually ecosystems. So I will very likely learn much faster. So that's how I got into ANKR.
Yeah, it's cool. But like not everyone knows ANKR here. So can you tell what is ANKR?
Yeah, sure. So ANKR is a decentralized Web3 infrastructure provider. So it all started with node deployment services. So initially, ANKR helped users to deploy full nodes and validator nodes easily. And then it started to expand the product offering vertically. So validator nodes became liquid staking, and full nodes became blockchain APIs. So on the blockchain APIs now, it's also evolving. So now ANKR has been decentralizing it. So there is a network of RPC nodes powering and ends APIs. And I'm more responsible for the liquid staking part, where it's about obviously creating liquid staking, but also partnering with the partners to build like a liquid staking ecosystem so that people can use liquid staking in DeFi and have different use cases.
Yeah, that's great. And like again, maybe not everyone knows liquid staking. I previously made a video about liquid staking, but can you tell us more about what's liquid staking in the layman's terms?
Yeah, sure. So liquid staking is basically like tokenized, staked ETH, tokenized, staked Avalanche. So for proof of stake chains, when you want to stake or delegate stake, usually you have an unbundling period, right?
Mhm.
So here it's obviously not fully liquid when you want to unstake. And with liquid staking, the very big advantage is that you can basically have a token that represents your staked ETH, staked Avalanche, staked BNB. So that makes it more capital efficient, and that allows DeFi composability as well. So you can earn more yield on top of your liquid staking. You can borrow against it. So you have much more flexibility. You don't need to choose between, you know, yield farming or staking. You know, you now have the opportunity to do both, you know, eventually if there is opportunities on the market.
Yeah, and what was the most popular liquid staking token? Like stETH, right? Is it right?
So yeah, actually it's a funny story. So ANKR in December 2020, we actually, you know, were the first ones to launch liquid staking into the market, and Lido launched about 2 weeks later. So
Mhm,
obviously Lido did a wonderful job, you know, into becoming like the biggest liquid staking provider for Ethereum.
mhm.
And yeah, for Ethereum, we followed a bit of a different strategy, and also we were not able to be so aggressive because ANKR was started in 2017, so it already has a token that is used for
Mhm.
multiple products. So obviously, when you just start a new project, you can be much more aggressive with the, you know, rewards and everything. So so yeah, that's how it is. But yeah, the most important token that we have at ANKR, so liquid staking token, it's obviously Ethereum. And
Mhm.
now we're focusing for a few months on BNB liquid staking. So I think the very big advantage, it's a redeemable token.
Mhm.
So you can actually unstake, right, BNB. So after 7 to 13 days, you have the possibility to receive back your staked BNB when you give back your liquid staking, BNB liquid staking to ANKR. So
Mhm.
that's very important for price stability. And you might have heard or maybe discussed in your channel stETH and what happens with Celsius
Yeah.
and all of that. So obviously, you know, here the challenge with Ethereum liquid staking, it's not a redeemable token yet. So you can, so I think, for example, Lido did a great job into having very large liquidity pools, which
Mhm.
gives a false sense of stability, right? But then because it's intrinsically not a redeemable token, you know, well, then if everyone is selling, you know, there is a maximum capacity, which is what is in the liquidity pool. And to make the liquidity pool attractive, instead of staking, you need to add farming rewards on top of it
Yeah.
as well. So here it's obviously a bit misleading. Maybe that, you know, many people I think got into liquid staking thinking that it has that price stability, and that's also how they convince, you know, to get listed on Aave, and then convincing Celsius to, you know, also use stETH for their ETH deposits. And yeah, at ANKR we didn't decide to have that step.
Mhm.
First, because of the limitation that we don't really, we're more conservative, so we don't want to dilute heavily ANKR token for that purpose, because we have other businesses that rely on ANKR token. And the second part is because we were strongly convinced that when the Ethereum merge happens and then the ETH withdrawals are enabled, Ethereum liquid staking will become a redeemable token. So we thought, in the meantime, we will rather expand to BNB liquid staking and Matic, Avalanche, Phantom, and showcase, you know, that you can actually build use cases about BNB liquid staking and, you know, using it as collateral, and then borrow other assets and basically develop that ecosystem. But that will be much more capital efficient for us, because the price stability is much easier to obtain with a redeemable liquid staking token than with a non-redeemable liquid staking token like Ethereum.
Yeah. That's like CAC Celsius SE thing got out of control like really fast, real fast, and it made many people wrecked and many companies wrecked. So the same won't happen with ANKR, right?
So yeah, the same will not happen, just because in the first place, we never try to give the wrong sense of stability. For example, right now, Ethereum liquid staking is traded between 12 to 15% discount
Yeah.
when compared to its redemption price. And we actually never, you know, incentivize very heavily Ethereum liquid staking, because people need to understand the discount represents like the illiquidity premium, right?
Yeah.
So when someone buys liquid staking from ANKR, first he gets maybe a little bit suspicious about why is it traded at such a discount, and then people realize, well, okay, it's because actually there isn't so many like additional farming rewards and everything. And I understand actually that, yeah, okay, it's not a redeemable liquid staking token, but it will become. So if I'm patient enough, actually, if you calculate, let's say, the yield to redemption, so the yield to redemption, it will be your staking rewards plus the discount at which you bought the liquid staking. And let's imagine that in 1 year, it becomes redeemable. So how much yield you make during that 1 year period of time, right? So if you bought at, let's say, 12% discount and the yield is 4% from staking rewards, you have overall about 16%, yield to redemption, right? But you will only be able to lock in that when you will be able to unstake. So because we never give that sense of stability, or we did not try to give that sense to people. Also, we were not listed on Aave, so we are not listed on Celsius and all these big platforms that then, use leverage eventually, to get even more deposits. So basically, the potential selling pressure from liquidation is almost non-existent. So far, there is only 2 small platforms that allow Ethereum liquid staking collateral. It's Lendflare and another small project called Onyx Finance. So yeah, it's only these platforms currently that can do that. But for BNB liquid staking, we're definitely willing to have bigger platforms to accept the liquid staking token as a collateral. But there is some educational process also that must happen with these partners, because they know stETH that has the same questions as you, and we're educating them to understand that the risk profile is different than stETH. And even if you see not a lot of liquidity on the liquidity pool, it doesn't mean that it is less illiquid than stETH, because it's an elastic supply. You can just, whenever there is a discount, people will buy, unstake, and after 7 days, they lock in the profit. So that gives like a natural incentive for people to protect the price peg, just because they make money by doing so.
Yeah, like buying now is like buying Ethereum and trusting the Ethereum Foundation to make the merge happen, make proof of stake merge happen. So it's like discounted futures of Ethereum and Ethereum Foundation. And my next question will be like, let's say 1 year after this, the merge happened, and like you can stake and unstake Ethereum tokens. What will be the ANKR position on that? Like, do you think it will be better, or do you think it is better now to have staking, like future staking liquid? What do you think about that?
So I think when the merge will happen and withdrawals will be activated, so I strongly believe that basically the peg, which will be much less challenging to obtain for Ethereum liquid staking for ANKR, but also for Lido, it will be less expensive probably as well. So that will make it much easier. It's still unknown what will be the unbonding period, right? So I will say if it's up to 28 days, I think it should be fine, right? If it's longer, so maybe there is still some risk. But I think in a macro level, what will be very interesting as well for Ethereum is that the illiquidity risk of staking, in Ethereum will also be, let's say, much lower. So it means that you will probably see more institutional investors to just run validator nodes on ETH or delegate stake without necessarily liquid staking. And that means that the staked ratio, so the amount of staked ETH when compared to the circulating supply, it will also increase to be more in line with other chains. So currently Ethereum has about 10.5% of staked tokens versus the total amount. And for Avalanche, for example, I think it's about 50 to 60%. BNB is about 80%. So there is obviously like a huge gap right now on let's say the most adopted chains, where Ethereum has a very low staked ratio just because it has that very significant illiquidity risk, and all the other chains that have some decent amount of DeFi activity on it, they have a much bigger amount of staked ratio. So that also means that then it will become more scarce, right? These coins, so Ethereum, Avalanche, and so on, because there is less in circulation since people are staking it. So I think that will basically bring a second wave of growth potentially for Ethereum, since the illiquidity risk of staking with Ethereum will become lower. So for us, we definitely see it as a very nice opportunity, to have then the chance to grow more. Let's say the TVL for ETH liquid staking.
Yeah, I got it. And what is the benefit of liquid staking to the ANKR token? Like, how does ANKR token benefit from liquid staking?
So yeah, currently the ANKR token is being used as a pay-as-you-go model for RPC node providers. So it's not directly linked with liquid staking for the moment. So yeah, basically, if you have an RPC node, you have the possibility to monetize your infrastructure, and you will basically receive ANKR tokens if you're selling the RPC calls, and the node consumers. So they also have the opportunity to benefit as a pay-as-you-go model. So instead of having some subscriptions to buy, let's say they pay $100 to consume X RPC calls per second, with ANKR, they will just pay what they consume, right? So that's basically the main utility right now of the ANKR token. But obviously, as we expand with other chains, well, we will expect to have also utility for ANKR token. So for example, on a BNB chain, we're delegate staking to different validator nodes. So currently we use 3 of them. So right now we're making the decision, but ultimately we will like very much that it's the community, deciding what are the type of validator nodes that we're supposed to receive, to use or not. And the same applies then for most of the chains. So, I think what we're looking into is then to have ANKR, let's say, voters to be able to, give a direction about how we should do the allocation management, let's say, of liquid staking in terms of the validator nodes.
Yeah, I got it. And like, other than liquid staking, what are you expecting to happen after the merge of Ethereum? Like, is ANKR positioning itself according to that? Like, what can you say about that?
I mean, I think, yeah, the biggest opportunity of the merge is obviously, staking in general. So I think in terms of RPC nodes, yeah, probably, yeah, there will continue to be some adoption for people using, Ethereum chain. So we also have RPC nodes and blockchain APIs on top of Ethereum. Honestly, yeah, there is also a part that, you have all that part related to, miner extractable value, and how it will become once validators. So the miners become validators, and we get usually a lot of questions about what is the positioning of ANKR related to that. So far, our main positioning, not specifically related to Ethereum only, but in general, is that we try really to disassociate ourselves between us, liquid staking, and the validator nodes, right? So we're trying like not to basically centralize the network. So that's why our business is just to enable liquid staking, and then allow people to use that as an infrastructure, and ultimately governed by ANKR token holders, but running validator nodes and doing liquid staking at the same time. It's it's like, well, let's use the very well-known blockchain API providers that are running their own RPC nodes. They're centralizing basically the service, right?
Yeah.
So the thing that we're pretty much not willing to go towards, but we definitely can understand that some people, in an ethical point of view, might decide that they do not want us to delegate stake to validator nodes that do MEV, even if they reshare the profit, and other people might just want to maximize, the validator, well, the rewards, and they don't care, right? They just want to use the validator nodes that will give the maximum APY, right? So instead of having us making a judgment call, I think it should definitely, be the community to kind of decide. But I think still one of the challenges of Ethereum, and this is something that we're maybe looking into as well, is that Ethereum is not delegated proof of stake, right? So you still kind of need to have 32 ETH to become a validator. But our intention is to delegate, the job of being a validator. We don't want to do it ourselves. We need to delegate it. So we have like a process where there is ANKR node providers. So we have 208 node providers, and we delegate the validation keys to them. So we're also looking into that system to upgrade it and ways to improve it. So that we can basically, have a situation where we can really just focus on delegate the validation keys, of the Ethereum that we receive and the nodes that we have, and we delegate the job of being a validator, but we let the ANKR token holders potentially to decide to which node operators they need to use. So this is what most of liquid staking providers are using, but obviously with let's say some with a higher level of concentration, and others try to really have a very diverse set of node operators. So I think we're trying to be a little bit in between, and to make the service obviously reliable.
Yeah. And let's say you're a person who is wandering around DeFi and you see ANKR. Like, what do you do? Is there any suggestion to the people who are discovering ANKR just right now?
Can you repeat the question?
Like, let's say you're a person wandering around DeFi and you discovered ANKR and liquid staking.
Okay.
Is there any suggestions like what you should do, what you should not do, etc.? Like, don't leverage yourself, don't over leverage yourself, of course.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's, yeah. Okay, so I think it's, if you discover liquid staking for the first time, I think it's also important to understand, what other type of yield you can receive in DeFi, and try to understand, difference in terms of risks. So for liquid staking, I think it's important to understand the main risk is the liquidity risk, that you still have an unbundling period, and for Ethereum that can last between, like 6 to 12 months eventually, right, until the merge happens. So I think it's important to differentiate that, okay, liquid staking has a higher level of illiquidity risk. However, if you do, for example, lending interest, right, if you just lend Ethereum, or you lend BNB into Aave or Venus, here you have different type of risk. And the risk here is that, everybody is like borrowing, and then you're stuck and you cannot redraw. And sometimes it happens, like with Luna, right? When it was listed on some lending platforms, and then you're like, oh, great, I'm making 250% APY. Yes, but you cannot redraw it because there is 100% utilization rate. So I think educating yourself about let's call stable pools or stable rewards, what are the options that you have, and then just invest in what you feel like more comfortable. So either you feel more comfortable with having a unbundling period of 7 days eventually, and you have the option to sell it immediately, maybe at a small discount, maybe not. And then you have other options where usually you can withdraw anytime, unless there is exceptional events in the market where maybe then you cannot redraw anytime. So and then there is obviously liquidity mining, liquidity providers, where you have potentially impermanent loss and trading fees and so on. So educate yourself about similar products and try to understand the differences. I think it's very important. So don't follow blindly necessarily influencers. Do your own research, and then I encourage you to discover what else ANKR is doing. So ANKR is not only liquid liquid staking. It's also like in general an infrastructure provider. So we do RPC nodes for developers, blockchain APIs. We have a blockchain explorer. We do actually also side chains. So we allow developers to build their own side chains on BNB chain, and we're supporting soon Polygon and Avalanche as well. So I think it's very interesting. If you're not familiar about what it is, definitely, try to read our documentation and content, understanding what it means. And, maybe that can also give you some insights about in which direction the market is going, what are the next products that will be interesting eventually, and being as an infrastructure provider, you usually have those insights, and you try to build the tools for developers so then they can build the applications of tomorrow eventually.
Filipe, thank you for coming here. Like, I can't thank you much enough. And is there anything you want to say? Is there anything you want to say before the end?
Yeah, I will say that, yeah, for the community, yeah, definitely, if you're interested about yield liquid staking, yeah, do your own research. I think it's great, the content that you're doing. And yeah, after, what happened on the markets, related to stETH, related to UST and so on, I think it's really important, to really remind the community again and again. And I know that everybody is, warning the community, this is not financial advice and so on, but it's really important to do your own research and try to understand where you invest in, and try to follow followers that have a great ethical behavior and level of transparency about the risks. So I think that will be very positive, and my advice for the community in general.
Thank you, man. Thank you. That's a great advice. Thank you, and see you guys in another video. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.